Okay, well, that was interesting. Um, on the way back, I was on a bit of a tirade, and I'm sorry for the language and whatnot, and raising my voice. But I am so annoyed and tired of it. Uh, some friends of mine trolling me. Their friends are, I wouldn't get so upset because I know them and I think they should know better. But I really, I'm pretty sure if we were like in person having the conversation, it would be quite a bit different in tone and content, and one can be more patient and listen more carefully. People have disagreements, or maybe they're talking from different perspectives, or maybe they're in different places in the discussion. Some people have more or less information or knowledge about a thing, and one person might just want to express what they know, and you may know more, or you may have different angles to share, but sometimes it's better just to be quiet and let people tell you what they know and just listen carefully and be happy that they know what they know or have an opinion. And then if they're interested or they ask, you can share your side of the story, or maybe a, a nuanced element that they might not be familiar with, or perhaps add information or more detail to the information or something like that to the discussion. Some people like to talk like that way, some people don't. Yesterday I had a conversation that went very smoothly. There were lots of areas where there were gaps in understanding or knowledge, or little disagreements and whatnot, but we were capable of appreciating, learning from each other, and the perspective that each of us had, and it was a comfortable, fun conversation that we both enjoyed. And so I prefer to have face-to-face conversations with people. I'm better at that, I think. Um, Not always. I mean, I can be acerbic or impatient like most people. But I've got a sense of humor. I'm a nice person. So generally things end well when I'm chatting with friends. I'm just, you know, like I said about the population bottleneck, uh, you can't change people's minds. If they're going to be uh, harvesting their information, if they think they have agency and they're choosing to harvest information from this source or that source, um, that's what they're going to do, and they're going to think they're pretty clever because of that, because everybody thinks that they're the master of the universe and that their choices are better than anyone else's choices. And it's just kind of a natural thing for all of us to be a bit hubristic and self-centered, and sometimes, uh, you know, overly so, solipsistic or whatever, narcissistic, without dipping into the pathological realm like people like Trump and whoever. But I think at some point you have to stop producing content and start just trying to uh, level up the consciousness and conversation with the people in your community. And some people want to do that, some people don't. Like I said in my tirade, if people don't want to learn something, if they're not interested in that, whatever you say to them, it's going to go in one ear and out the other. And it's not going to stick. And 10 or 15 years later, they will come back to you and they'll say, "Did you know about this?" And you'll say, "Yeah, I was talking to you about that 15 years ago." And, you know, for 10 years, you thought I was a raving mad lunatic idiot. And suddenly, this new old thing is your idea. So we tend to think that because we became aware of something that it's our idea, right? Everything's derivative. Every culture is derivative. Every myth is derivative. Every story is derivative. You have Shakespeare and all the people after Shakespeare and all the other playwrights and poets. You have a certain amount of language to work with and whatnot. So, you're going to have all these derivative AI stories and actors and blah, 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 And most of us have never had an original idea. We're not a beautiful mind. We're not a Nash. So most of us aren't Leibniz or whoever. And so, the other thing is everyone has to make a living. They have to feed their families. They have to feel good about themselves. They have to be part of a community, a group. We all want to be liked. That's natural. It doesn't leave a whole lot of time in the day to go deep in the weeds on things, which I understand. It doesn't bother me. The only thing that bothers me is if you're my friend and you know what I read, what I've read, what I talk about, what I'm familiar with. I'm not an expert. What I can talk to or about, and you throw this. Well, hello. I love these kinds of Octobers in Portugal, where I live in the Silver Coast region. It's got a good climate here. And sometimes in October, we have these really interesting months in terms of weather. Last year it got cold pretty quick, and then it rained a lot in November. This year is one of those years where yesterday was 30. Right now I think it's around 17, and it'll top out around 20. So I've got a windbreaker on. I'm in shorts. It feels great here. Smells good. Great day for cycling. Yesterday was a bit too hot. Not a cloud in the sky yesterday. I was out in the city, a few meetings there, and it was very pleasant. So the next few days will be a bit. Oh no! I hope I don't have. Sometimes you get these. Oh, they're just rocks. These brambles can puncture your tire around here. Anyway, it'll be in the mid-20s, low 20s, mid-20s, and sunny and so on some cloudy days. But it's really nice weather, and it just goes on and on week after week. Some friends went to Douro, the wine country, the other day, and it's basically a perfect time of year to go there and enjoy that region. It's still pretty hot, but much cooler than the summer, and less people. Although I don't know right now, there's a lot of people visiting Portugal. The real estate values keep climbing. I wanted to talk about this. I'm going to do something, but I wrote a few things. They're still in draft form. I want to get something off my chest and leave it for a while because I have other work to do. Some of it has to do with just what an uphill battle consciousness raising is, And, there are various areas in life where consciousness can be raised. Please don't call it woke. That's bullshit. It's just about learning about things that you don't know about and realizing there are other ways to do or think about or understand things and becoming aware, raising awareness, all that kind of stuff. Some of my friends are Western apologists. Their problem is that they have a very low resolution information stream. A lot of people don't have time to read books and articles and studies and all that kind of stuff. And I understand that. They got better things to do, and that's fine. What I hate is when they regurgitate, they puke up, the CNN or MSNBC or Fox News shit at me. They know me. They shouldn't do that. It pisses me off. If it's a stranger, I don't care. It's like, I started really delving into a lot of things during the COVID crisis, but I was really digging in during the financial crisis, 2007 onward, and also during the dot-com thing. But anyway, over the years, especially the last, I'd say 15, I've learned a lot, and I've changed my opinion. So, for example, I used to watch Fareed Zakaria on CNN, and I used to read his op-eds, and other people in the New York Times, Washington Post, and other outlets. I used to read The Economist, Financial Times, blah, blah, blah. I don't do that anymore. It's exacerbating because I've studied a lot about dark psychology, marketing, propaganda, hyper persuasion techniques, and all this stuff, including the technology behind it, all this stuff. From Bannon to the so-called liberal end of the equation, and I mean liberal in the classical sense, not left. Anyway, I can't listen to them anymore because I know that they're just corporate employees, careerists who read a script, and the audience capture that they're confronted with is their bosses, the people who write their checks. Now, audience capture for some blogger or podcaster or YouTuber would be the audience, the niche audience that they've cultivated in order to have a successful channel. And those people will, when they get audience captured, it's just that now they're going to do anything to please their niche audience, and they're not going to grow as a content producer, as a journalist, as a whatever. And they're just going to do whatever gets the clicks. And, like attracts like, you get a certain kind of audience, and pretty soon you're stupid. Van Jones, for example, used to be a Maoist activist in the Bay Area. And he was a pro-Palestine, Palestine rights, all this stuff. And mind you, none of this stuff started yesterday, which pisses me off with my friends. They have no sense of the history, the context. They've never paid attention to it. They've never read a book about it.
But behind that glittering narrative, beneath the soaring skyline and the anthem of opportunity, there is another story, one we were never meant to hear. The story of what was taken, not what was created, the story of who paid the price for this illusion of prosperity. You see, the myth of America's wealth is not built on the purity of labor, but on the art of forgetting.
They've never read around the subject. They know nothing. They know shit. They're ignorant people. And they're stubbornly ignorant. They don't want to learn. So the only thing they know is what they hear on the media, corporate media. Anyway, these guys sell out, and they just say what the bosses want them to say, basically. And people, some big bloggers, like Kirk and Ben Shapiro, and people like that. These people are pleasing their bosses. They read from a very narrow script. It's very shallow information, very targeted. It's crap. But anyway, it's like you think that the Palestinian issues, started yesterday or on October, whatever. It started decades ago, and it started before World War II.
Acts of October 7th.
Think about October 7th.
What Hamas did on October the 7th.
About what happened on October 7th.
October 7th, the date you've heard repeated over and over again. But here's the truth. The conflict between Israel and Palestine did not begin on October 7, nor did Israel's brutality against Palestinians. It's 1897. The first Zionist Congress is held. The first Zionist Congress convened, led by Theodor Herzl, an Austro-Hungarian journalist seeking a Jewish homeland in Palestine, spurred by widespread anti-Semitism in Europe. Fast forward to 1917, the Balfour Declaration. A letter from the British Foreign Secretary Arthur Balfour to Lord Baron Rothschild, the wealthy figurehead of the British Jewish community, expresses support for the Zionist objectives to establish a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine, which was occupied by the UK after the defeat of the Ottomans in World War I. 1920, the creation of the Haganah, a terrorist militia formed by Zionist settlers that conducted numerous massacres of Palestinians with the goal of driving them off their land by force and seizing their properties, paving the way for an Israeli state. The tension escalates. By 1936, Jewish immigration into Palestine reaches its peak. More than 350,000 Jews had migrated to Palestine over the course of just a couple of decades, mostly from Europe, boosting the Jewish population in Palestine from roughly 3% in the late 19th century to over 30%. Pressure mounts as indigenous Palestinians deal with land dispositions and economic hardship due to the massive influx of Jews and subsequent demographic shift leading to the 1936 to 1939 Great Arab Revolt. Palestinians stage an uprising, fighting for their land and livelihoods, but face brutal suppression at the hands of British troops. Over 5,000 Palestinians are killed, nearly 15,000 wounded. British forces demolish Palestinian neighborhoods and impose a harsh military occupation. By the 1940s, new Zionist terrorist militias, the Irgun and the Stern Gang, emerge. Alongside the Haganah, they target British forces and Palestinian civilians, using violence to force Britain's hand. In 1946, the Irgun bombs the British administrative headquarters in Jerusalem's King's David Hotel, killing 96. 1947, the UN steps in with its partition plan. On November 29, 1947, the intergovernmental body proposes partitioning Palestine into two states, one Jewish and one Christian and Muslim Arab, but allocates over half of the land to the Jewish minority, which owned less than 7% of Palestinian land, ignoring Arab opposition. In 1948, Zionist militias commit at least 30 documented massacres at the start of what becomes known as the Nakba, or the catastrophe. The April 1948 Deir Yassin massacre is the most notorious among them. The Irgun and the Stern Gang slaughter more than 100 Palestinian men, women and children in the village of Deir Yassin. 2 days later, the Haganah illegally occupies what remains. It's May 14, 1948. Zionist leaders declare the establishment of the State of Israel, and just 1 day later, the US recognizes Israel as a state. The Nakba, 1948. Zionist militias, the Haganah, Irgun and Stern Gang violently expel over 750,000 Palestinians, 80% of the Palestinian population at the time, from their land, stealing or destroying their homes.
And all that, I don't want to go into it, but there are so many good books that have been published over decades on the subject. And if one wanted to understand it, one could. Just as there are great books published about Afghanistan and Iraq, Vietnam. If you want to go the war route, not just books like Chicken Hawk, where it's all about how cool, being a chopper pilot in Nam was, or SOG, where how cool it is to go into Laos and Cambodia on recon missions, and and kill people, have the NBA chase you. All these heroic Western narratives that really give some of my friends a hard on. Look at that cute dog. You are a good runner, you little cute pea. I like you. Anyway, my friends get a hard on. I mean, they don't want to admit it. They have coded language for it. They hate Arabs. They hate Muslims. They hate, like my friend, he's married a Chinese person. He's had Japanese partners. He's had a Polish wife. He has a Dominican Republican wife now and all that stuff. He's a simple man, but he's an intelligent, nice man, and he's well traveled, and all that kind of stuff. He's smart. He reads books, but he's stubbornly ignorant because I think he has this fantasy. Deep down, he's probably not even aware of it, that he's somehow an empire baby colonialist working for the British East India Company or something, you know, like giving the brown people a better life or something. I've heard him talk like that, you know, it's like, we did so much good for the world. Obviously, he hasn't read around the subject, and what I mean by that, if you're talking colonialism, is that you've read books from different points of view. And you've triangulated your opinion on it, understood various sides of things. You know, to him, Putin is just an idiot. He's not a statesman. He doesn't have an intellect. He doesn't have informed opinions. His countrymen are all idiot Eastern Slavs, blah, blah, blah. He wouldn't know how to calculate the casualty toll on both sides of that conflict because he wouldn't look into it. He would just listen to CNN or whatever, MSNBC, and that would be enough for him. Because he hates them anyway. He hates Chinese, he hates Japanese, he hates everybody he's ever come up against because he's a supremacist. I'm not saying racist or anything. He's a me supremacist. Then he's a my people, the people who like me or family supremacist. And then he's a Canadian supremacist, and then a North American supremacist, and a white supremacist, and an Anglo-Saxon supremacist. You know, concentric layers of supremacy going outward to a certain degree and then stopping in its tracks. And it lacks self-awareness, recursive thinking skills, and all that stuff. Now, I know how this ends, this whole predicament we're in. It ends in a population bottleneck because people are ready to learn things when they're ready to learn things. If you're an addict, you might get to a moment in your life where you're like, I don't want to be an addict anymore. I'm going to get my shit together and I'm going to learn how to heal myself and you'll do the work. Or maybe you weren't interested in physics ever, and suddenly you were exposed to some information and said, wow, that's interesting. Oh, the second law of thermodynamics or whatever. And then you start reading on it. You know, some people spent their whole life making money and then suddenly they want to take the course in miracles or something. Or you become interested in ancient history, Middle Eastern history, or Roman, I don't know. Or you become interested in sociology or philosophy or whatever. And then you're ready to learn and you start learning. Oh, hi, kid. You're doing a good job. Now I'm in this dog area where all these dogs are doing their job. Sounding the alarm. It's a cheap alarm system. It's like, ooh, somebody's there. My dog is barking. Oh, wow. So, anyway, when you're ready to learn something, you'll start learning it. But a lot of my friends, they're in their 60s. They're not going to learn anything. They stopped learning when they were 30, probably. But the point is, in their mind, you're an idiot. I'm an idiot. because I've learned to see things from multiple perspectives. Not to say that I'm being a both side type guy or everything's relative. Yes, things are a construct. We live according to narratives and all that stuff. They don't understand what postmodernism is. They have no clue about Derrida or Foucault or whatever, or just name something. They got no idea, which is fine. I mean, who does? Very few people read that much, or read in certain domains. I'm not criticizing them for that. It's just like throwing in my face the same bullshit, regurgitated crap from mainstream media every time they encounter me on the internet, which is sick. I mean, you can't say, "Oh, nice photograph. It looks like you're having fun in Portugal," or "Let's talk about this or that." You have to take, like this guy said yesterday, so stupid, so ignorant. I don't know why they're protesting in Holland. All they have to do is release the hostages. Well, this guy doesn't know anything about the conflict. He doesn't know anything about Benjamin Netanyahu's political party. He doesn't understand the greater Israel project. He doesn't understand Christian Zionism. He doesn't understand the ideology that underlies and underpins the whole damn thing. He doesn't know shit. He's literally just repeating something he heard from corporate media. And he thinks that's a mic drop. It's freaking tragic and childish. He's 68 years old or something, and this is the way. Well, the point is this about the population bottleneck. People aren't going to learn until they're ready to learn. And we may be in big trouble ecologically on this planet by the time we learn. And when I say we, I don't just mean white Anglo-Saxon Protestants or whatever. I mean the whole planet, Indian people of all ilk, Pakistani people, Chinese people, Vietnamese people, Japanese, South Korean, whatever, all the African countries. Low fidelity, ridiculous propaganda, basically, PR, or these narratives that are all Western apologetic narratives that are very, very shallow in my face. It's an insult to me, my friend. You don't have to do that. I would say hold your tongue, because we can talk about something else. Instead of commenting on how stupid people are in Amsterdam to march because they find slaughtering women and children untoward, you could simply talk to me about something that you know something about. I can learn something from you. We can have a nice time, a nice conversation. But puking corporate media stuff like a parrot in my face on social media is just annoying as hell. So please stop, okay? So anyway, that's my thing. That's my pet peeve. That's my bone to pick. That's what's frustrating and annoying me. People aren't going to figure it out. We're not going to cohere and come together across cultures and nation states to solve problems, to make collapse a little bit less painful and horrific. Europe right now, all the mainstream people, the leadership, are just gearing up for another war. It's been a while, and Europe has been a violent, horrific place forever, and it had a little bit of peace for a while, Pax Americana, and now it's not doing so good. So, You can't have infinite growth on a finite planet. Ooh, my. But I can keep my job. I can keep my career. That I can do, right? So who's signing the checks? How do I keep my prestige? They know how to do that. So that's what they're going to do. And they're going to say, well, we got to have a big war with Russia now and China because of whatever. And they'll trot out the same old bullshit reasons. And nobody wins, especially now, because America had a shit ton of oil and gas back in the day, and materials and whatnot. They could build Liberty ships, like, overnight. China can do that now, right? You got some competition, brah. So you're gonna have to deal with that, man. Be realistic. Be a realist. And so it's not going to be the same rodeo. It's going to be slightly different. And the weapons are grotesque, drones, robots, all these countermeasure, all these the technology behind all of it is mind-boggling. And at the end of the day, the whole world's going to be a fascist world because everybody's going to have to control the population. And it's going to be ugly as hell. And these, when you think about hypersonic kinetic impact weapons that do almost as much damage as a tactical nuke, but without the radiation, yay, woohoo! Are you proud of that? Is that your claim to fame? You're going to obliterate Berlin or Moscow without any radiation. I mean, how dumb is that? And how are you going to rebuild it this time? What's that going to look like? What's the Berlin airlift going to look like this time? We're past peak oil and whatnot. It's not going to come back miraculously. We're not going to have a Dyson sphere anytime soon. We're not going to be terraforming Mars anytime. We're not going to be a multi-planet species. And even if we were, we'd be out there trying to find another enemy to fight and compete with, because we're stupid Homo sapiens, Homo hubris, and Homo delusional. So that's not going to work very well for us. This next war isn't going to be too pretty. Who wants to fight it? A bunch of soft people who like playing computer games? Of course they are. They're going to love that. They're going to be sitting in the south of France in these big warehouses, operating drones and whatnot. Well, those big warehouses are going to be getting hit with hypersonic missiles. Oh, and Israel with their nukes. Well, Iran can hit back. Well, I don't like Iranians. Iranians suck. You're just a bigoted, prejudiced dick. You don't know anything about Iran or Iranian people or culture or history. You don't know anything about it. You're just a jingoistic, Western-centric bigot, a wannabe colonialist empire baby. I was an empire baby, but I had the terrible misfortune of having been born after the empire had already been lost. It's grotesque, tragic, sad, shallow, idiotic. So I got a little bit, how does one say in English, wound up. Verbal idiom. Yeah, it's we could get a handle on it. The other point I wanted to make is the young people aren't going to be like us, baby boomers. We think we know it all. We don't know shit. We got the world into this mess. But a lot of people think, no, the world's great, man. All we have to do is protect the Western civilization. Everything's going to be wonderful. That's just nonsense. 400 million people in Europe, 400 million people in the U.S. Look at the global population. Look at where the population is growing. Look at the evangelical movements. in Africa and South America and Central America, and Zionism growing. A lot of these people believe that, they're going to rebuild the temple. There's going to be this conflagration, and Jesus is going to come back with a drone swarm and sort everything out. And the chosen ones are going to go to heaven, depending on if you're like a Calvinist or dispensationalist, what sect you're from or whatever. And other religions are into that too. You got different types of Hindus and different types of Muslims, and on and on and on. Even Buddhists, budding Buddhists, peaceful little meditating Buddhists who hate each other. No, we're not gonna make it. So what I'm just saying is, like, if you want to understand the predicament and you want to understand the pickle we're in, it's not hard to understand. And then you might be able to participate in, with your people, mitigating the more horrific consequences of our inactions. Because we got into this mess because we're the greatest. We never were the greatest. And Western civilization, the standard narrative, is a myth. It's full of holes. It's nonsense. So that's all I'm going to say. I'm going to just sit here, enjoy fanning flies away and looking at the view. And I'll see you some other time. Take good care. Bulliam T. out.
I'm not taking it out on the